On this episode,
Whoa!
the MythBusters indulge their sweet tooth.
Okay.
But will they be burned by an exploding Jawbreaker? They show true grit,
I'm gonna go.
finding out if a sandblaster can really create a deadly static cannon.
Stop smudging my...
And it's the deal of a lifetime as they play a hand with the killer deck.
Hey, we drew blood.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Salvage
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
and Jamie Heineman.
I kind of like it in here. It's private.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
That was intense.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. Jawbreakers. They're colorful, they're delicious, and they're fun.
Are we doing an experiment here, or are we screwing around?
But what could turn this simple candy into a potential bomb?
The exploding Jawbreaker. We know this happened. We just don't know why.
Yeah, we have the police reports and everything.
A treat for 5-year-old Cameron D. Hall turned into a scary moment after just one lick.
And it just blew. That fast. Boom.
And he had this Jawbreaker in his hand, and he went down to lick it. When he did, it exploded.
The child heated the candy in the microwave.
There's another exploding Jawbreaker story in Florida.
Story of 9-year-old Taquandra Digg was burned when her Jawbuster exploded in 2003. Hot liquid burned her face.
It hurts. It hurts a bunch.
She went to lick it, and at that point, the Jawbreaker exploded in her face, leaving really severe burns on her face and on her arm that were described later as chemical burns.
Jawbreakers start life as a solid candy center. Then they grow like a snowball as sugar syrup is applied layer after layer in a process that takes 5 days. This is the perfect MythBusters story. A hint of truth, sweet things to play with, and an excuse to do really stupid, dangerous experiments. Don't try this at home.
We have to come up with a heating and cooling regimen to determine which scenario, if any, would make these Jawbreakers explode. And really the first place to start is to try and superheat it and see what happens to the insides.
And superheating means microwaves. It's obviously a bad idea to put a Jawbreaker into your microwave at home, but the MythBusters are willing to do it for science.
Look at that.
God, look at that. There's a hole right in the side of it.
When you're dealing with superheated sugar,
Going hot.
you don't take any chances.
Nope, nothing explosive there.
To suck through a Jawbreaker this size could take 5 days. So Jamie and Christine use a shortcut to see what's inside.
That's pretty. The first thing that I noticed when I cut this open is that there's a potential for a temperature differential.
Temperature differential means a layer inside the Jawbreaker could heat more rapidly than the hard outer shell. The layer would then expand, creating internal pressure and instability. If somebody nibbled on a Jawbreaker in this state, it could crack. The molten candy would burst out and cause painful burns.
With the slightest, messing with it, it would go off like a bomb.
The MythBusters don't really want a mouthful of boiling candy. So Adam comes up with a toothy solution for Tari to construct.
We have to build a fake mouth to chew on a gobstopper.
Okay.
We want it to be able to chew, which means the lower jaw will be the hinged part. The upper jaw will be fixed,
Okay.
like in the head.
If you're building an artificial mouth, the first thing you need is teeth. Let's hope Adam's granny doesn't miss those dentures too much. As Adam plays dentist, Tari constructs a steel frame to support the test jaws.
Anyone got any candy?
The average human has a maximum bite force of about 170 pounds. This guy's not average, but our artificial mouth has to be. So, how do we measure its bite force?
What I've done is I've hooked up this force gauge to this device, and this will give us an accurate reading of how much the jaw exerts.
The digital force gauge measures and displays the peak amount of force applied to it.
Hurts.
Time to test the artificial jaws. By pushing down on the flexible steel rod, Tori can apply tremendous force onto the dentures. Maybe too much.
What is that? Busted a
Tooth. Busted a tooth? Melted, and it kind of heard it go over here somewhere.
You shouldn't eat hard candy.
This job calls for teeth of steel.
I'm about to cut some canine.
Varying diameter steel rods are cut into tooth-sized pieces. They're shaped on a grinder and welded onto a steel jaw. They might not get you a Hollywood contract, but these steel choppers will be able to replicate the bite pressure of a real mouth.
I finished the teeth. I hope they work.
Meanwhile, the microwave's getting a workout.
Now look at this. The one light green layer in the middle there started to bubble, and nothing else did. I'm gonna put this piece back in there without the core in the middle of it and see whether it just kind of pools and nothing else happens.
Okay.
Christine uses an infrared thermometer to measure the temperature of the candy's molten inner core.
25 degrees.
Yeah, it went up to 225.
Well, you know, this is actually pretty interesting because it's clear that it is reacting in that layer a lot more than the surrounding areas. And that's where we get some kind of an explosion. Ow, really retains the heat. You could get seriously burned with this. In fact, I think I did.
So, heating a Jawbreaker in the microwave can create a dangerous molten sugar center. Now to apply pressure.
Want to get me a Jawbreaker to test?
Jamie loads up, Adam pushes down, and the steel teeth start chomping.
All right, that's a full bite. Nothing's going on.
They try again, but the Jawbreakers just won't crack. Maybe the boys are heating the candies too fast. What's the solution?
Defrost cycle. See if we can figure it out on this machine. Okay, so.
You could do, I think it might be power level 1. Oh.
All they have to do is figure out how to program the microwave.
It's too smart.
0.1 pound. That's probably a good bet.
We don't have the manual for this anywhere.
Probably somewhere, but I think that's sort of what it does.
30 years special effects experience finally pays off.
There we go. Start. That was crazy. It's like watching paint dry.
Nope. After all that, the defrost setting doesn't do it either. They test combination after combination of heating, cooling, and pressure. Until, eureka, finally, they think they have it.
Going hot on the candy.
Okay.
A highly unstable Jawbreaker with a core of molten sugar is about to be crushed.
2. What?
Ice water over here.
I got it on my arm.
Christine's being hit in the face.
I got burned by the candy. I wasn't wearing a face mask like I should have been. And I couldn't protect myself with my hands.
At upwards of 225 degrees and with high heat retention, the liquid candy is extremely painful.
Okay, I've got first-hand experience though. Doesn't feel good. I got the side of my neck and my temple. So it hurts.
So, the MythBusters have conclusively proved that Jawbreaker plus microwave plus steel teeth equals scalded myth turn.
And if you were a 5-year-old kid and this went off in your face, there's no doubt it would leave serious burns on you. It was very, I mean, I could feel it like 10 seconds, 15 seconds later. It wasn't cooling down. It's like napalm. It's very dangerous.
For now, the MythBusters will lick their wounds. But they'll take a few more bites at this myth before they're finished. It's a myth to make your hair stand on end. You think you're just sandblasting a plain old pipe. But are you really creating a massive cannon fueled by static electricity?
This is a really cool story. Lots and lots of static electricity.
Potentially lethal, yes. The story goes that there's a construction worker who's on a site and he finds a piece of 8-inch diameter PVC pipe. It's kind of messed up and he wants to reuse it on the job, so he drags it over into the paint area and begins to sandblast it with a large industrial sandblaster. What he doesn't realize is that builds a charge up on the pipe, and as he walks around the pipe to go get another tool, the pipe unloads all of its static electricity into him, killing him instantly, like a static cannon.
A static cannon. What a blast. To test this one, the MythBusters will need a length of PVC pipe, a sandblaster to build up a charge, a willing victim to get zapped, and a meter to measure the jolt.
It turns out that the ideal conditions for static electricity are very dry conditions. Because the moisture in the air inhibits the buildup of static. So I think we're actually really going to want to seal off that area, which we're already doing for the sandblasting. We're going to want to get that area as dry as possible.
Tori just couldn't be happier with that idea.
It's not like we're housing the boy in the bubble.
A whole workshop to wrap in plastic, on his own, just him and his stapler. He'll take a little while. So in the meantime, Jamie and Adam seek out a little expert opinion. Susie C. has been an electrical engineer for 15 years.
So Susie, tell me how electrostatic charges would build up on this PVC.
Well, Jamie, as you know, PVC is an excellent insulator. It doesn't like to give off electrons. So when you rub something along PVC with a lot of friction, electrons build up on the PVC surface, and the surface becomes negatively charged.
So PVC can collect a charge, but Susie's never heard of that charge causing problems.
PVC is not conductive, it's very resistive. It can store a charge of electrons, but can that charge be dissipated so that the current flows and somebody is hurt? I'm not sure that's possible.
If it is possible, the MythBusters want to be the ones to make it happen. Back in the workshop, Tori's plastic tent is done, and they're spreading painter's desiccant. It draws moisture out of the air. Now, the pipe. Nothing like a little PVC overkill to get the sparks flying.
Jimmy, I see a problem right away with this myth. I mean, they said he put it up on jack stands, but the problem is we're trying to build up a static charge on something that's grounded to metal.
Yeah, I agree. This wouldn't work at all this way.
What they need is a little insulation inspiration.
Best I can come up with is to put it on these glass blocks, so I'm going to make a brace to hold them like so. This is the size of the tube. Hopefully that'll work. Okay, lower it down.
So the air's dry and the cannon's insulated. Now, who wants to be blasted with a fatal charge? Come on, hands up.
I built this hand about 13 years ago. It was my first attempt at some type of animatronics. I just had some copper plate and some springs, and I put this together. So I think that this hand actually contributed to me getting my very first job with Jamie. I think he liked the animatronic aspect of it.
He just knew it would come in handy again someday. The perfect stand-in. Better a copper finger cops the blast than Adam's own.
I am being a little cautious with this rig. I don't know how much electricity it's going to generate. My thinking is it's not going to generate very much, but we've been surprised on MythBusters before, and I don't want to be at the business end of a bad mistake.
To load the cannon, they'll sandblast the pipe end to end. Jamie will measure the charge buildup on a voltmeter, and there's an ammeter in Adam's hand, connected to Christine's computer.
After we feel like we've leveled it out to the maximum charge, you'll touch it with this, and Christine can tell us what the amperage spike is, and if it's, we can take a look and see if it's enough to actually cause some real damage.
In cases of electrocution, the damage is done by the current flowing through you, measured in amps. You can feel 1/1000th of an amp, or 1 milliamp. Up to 5 will give you a little shock. Between there and 30 milliamps will be a severe jolt and affect muscle control. Getting beyond 50, it can affect breathing and heartbeat and can prove fatal. But can their static cannon produce a massive, fatal blast?
Okay, I'm gonna go.
By bombarding the pipe with sand, Adam is loading it up with millions of electrons. It could discharge when they touch it with the copper hand, or, as in the myth, completely at random.
Let's see where it is now. Went back down again. That's like 500 volts.
Something weird is happening. The static charge has actually dropped.
This is a big piece of plastic, so we should be able to create a big charge. Why we're not at this point, I'm not so sure.
And here's another problem. Adam's got gas, or at least the blaster does.
Turn it off?
Yeah, let's turn it off again.
So here's the unit. Maybe that we don't know how to use it. It may be that it's not working right. Not sure.
It seems for blasting, there's the right sand, and there's the kind the MythBusters bought.
Yeah, it's catching in the nozzle.
Okay.
We've got hundreds and hundreds of pounds of sand meant for a kid's playpen, not for a sandblaster.
Jamie doesn't really buy the whole gritty sand thing. While Adam is off searching for something finer, a little Heinemann handiwork gets the MythBusters back in the blasting game. Jamie's done something right. This time the cannon is charging up.
It got up to about 17,000 volts.
17,000 volts. Will that give off a fatal zap?
Okay, Christine, did we catch any amperage?
Nothing. I mean, it's just a blank screen. It doesn't even look like it's connected to anything. I didn't see a blip.
Well, what are you doing wrong?
Nothing, I swear.
I
I've
did
been
my
looking at it
part.
the whole time.
I got the volts. Where's your amps?
I can't help you.
There's no current, no spark, not even a blip on the screen. Unless Jamie and Adam can think of something fast, the only thing this static cannon will blow away will be the myth. Adam is gambling with his life.
You wimp.
He is an apprentice before the master.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This ain't old maid. It's the biggest deal of all when you're playing with the killer deck.
This is real.
Killer deck. This has got to be one of your favorites.
One of my all-time favorites, actually. The myth is that an ordinary playing card can be turned into an instrument of death and actually kill somebody with a powerful throw.
Sounds highly implausible to me.
Well, be that as it may, you can actually throw these things with a fair amount of force. I've been doing it since I was like 10 years old.
You're pretty good at that.
Adam's better than pretty good. He's a card-throwing ace and is proud to display the fruits of a misspent youth.
The first aspect is just imparting lateral speed to the card. The second is imparting spin to it. And it's a combination of both of those things that I think yields the most distance and stability.
So all it takes is speed, spin, and, say, 30 years practice.
I haven't had all day to sit around practicing with like you guys.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
As far as I'm aware, it's not possible to actually kill someone with a playing card by throwing it at them.
You can't kill anybody with a playing card. No way. I'm sure they're gonna try.
The high-speed camera shows Adam in all his mutant ninja glory. He's hitting that foam block target at an impressive 25 miles an hour. But when it comes to cards, few can trump Ricky J.
Well, some people have called me the leading hurler of martial projectiles in the world.
Ricky can throw a regular playing card nearly 200 feet.
So yeah, I can just throw one without too much, I've got a little curve, but that'll hit him anyway. I'll take credit for anything.
Yeah, that's nice and done.
Watch closely here. He's putting a card right through the same hole in the paper as the throw before.
Yeah, that's it.
And he can cure your smoking habit better than any hypnotist. When it comes to killer cards, Ricky wrote the book.
Well, Ricky, have you heard the myth about someone being killed with a throwing card?
Well, there's a book called Cards as Weapons, which is a study of self-defense with the ordinary playing card that deals with some stories of people who may have actually been killed with playing cards.
Now, isn't it true that you wrote this book?
It is true, yes. I did write that book.
So you may be the genesis of this tale.
I would be surprised if I wasn't.
Lethal cards. Is it true? Ricky's not saying. Jamie's always crisp shirt is as good as body armor. Of course, that doesn't mean the myth is dead.
We have some unsubstantiated accounts that world record-holding card throwers like Ricky Jay are throwing the card at almost 90 miles per hour. Our challenge in this myth is to build a machine that can throw a card as fast as possible.
Let's go for it.
So here's the deal. The MythBusters will build a high-powered card-throwing machine and compare it to other weapons. But son of a gun, you'll never guess. Adam and Jamie have completely different ideas on how to do it.
Hi, how you doing?
Adam's ambitious plan is a sort of bionic arm. Jamie's making a kind of mini baseball pitching machine.
Whenever an engineer builds something that's overcomplicated, that's the mark of an inferior designer. Simpler is always better.
This pulls all the way back, comes like this, spreads, and the card flies out.
It's complicated, but just maybe Adam's gizmo will work.
That's actually pretty clever.
What's going on? It's getting worse. Oh, looks like the fingers are getting tweaked a little bit. That was pretty cool.
Adam actually had a pretty clever idea. It doesn't work, but it was really clever.
I'm not very happy with it. As usual, I've tended to get a little over-elegant in my design.
Over-elegant is apparently engineering speak for it won't work. Adam has thrown in his hand, and it's down to Jamie. With less elegance, more grunt as his mantra, this promises to be the most diabolical little machine he's ever created.
Yeah, Adam.
Jamie's made what could be a card-throwing monster.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a little scared of this thing myself. Go ahead. I'm tickled with my design, actually. You know, it came together really quickly. It's really simple. And best of all, it just rockets those cards. I mean, they're just like gone. So it's cool.
Jamie's pitching machine is getting that card out there at around 70 miles an hour.
Look at that.
I mean, I can definitely say you're going a lot deeper than I can go. I mean, look, even from here, you know,
Yeah.
you're going like burying half the card. That's an intense amount of speed.
Yeah.
This is becoming quite a dangerous little card-throwing machine.
Wow!
But maybe for the wrong reasons.
Ow! What was that?
I don't know. I have a clue.
Oh, you know what?
Oh, ow, yeah.
Oh. What happened to it, do you think?
It's going 30,000 RPM.
The small rubber wheels can't handle the speed and are breaking apart. It's time to up the ante. Bigger wheels, and the MythBusters will be killer card high rollers.
I'm ready. Pull the plug.
That might be the fastest failure we've ever had.
Whoops.
I wouldn't have called that.
Rubber wheels aren't happening on this one. We have to do it out of metal. In fact, you know, I have some things that I can I'll bring you out right now to show you an example of what we can try.
I used these when I made the first Chef Boyardee commercial in 1948 for the Henny Youngman Radio Hour.
It is fair to say Jamie's not known for throwing anything away.
I'm not sure that this is the right one, but, you know, because it's a little too weak in there. We're going to have to make a metal drive wheel this time that hopefully won't fly apart. Even that, you know, we're playing around with some really high forces on this thing, and it just, it's scary.
Of course, danger is the MythBusters' constant friend and companion. And now they have a new toy, the mother of all card chuckers.
All right, let's try that. Let's go. Everybody eyes open, we're spinning up a big, fast thing. Go.
It even sounds dangerous.
I don't want to get near that thing.
I don't either.
They're serious. They really don't want to get near it. But they have to load the cards. Adam's got a solution.
This I got when I bought an esophagoscope. This is for going all the way down. I got all the way down to your stomach. Like that. I'm pulling it back out again. Yeah?
Yeah.
Want to try?
I hate this thing.
I know, it's terrifying. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready. That works beautiful. Oh my God. That's one that I did. Here's ours. Embedded like half the card. Well, we got to see what kind of speed that is.
Yeah.
The high speed tracks that card at a blistering 150 miles an hour. But even at that speed, Jamie isn't convinced the card is lethal.
You know, creating a killer playing card isn't just about the speed, it also involves the mass.
They found out all about the importance of mass in the penny drop myth.
I'm scared.
Jamie built a gun to fire a penny at high speed.
Looks pretty good. Are we ready? Ready, Adam?
The light coin didn't have any penetrating power.
You hit me in the same exact place. It didn't hurt that much before, but now it really hurts.
Oh, you baby.
I mean, in looking at the mass of a penny here on the scale, the penny comes out at just a little over 3 grams, and a card comes out at just about 1.7 grams.
Yeah, well, nevertheless, I think we need to put this up against some things that we know can penetrate human flesh.
So out comes the MythBusters' old friend, ballistics gel.
I'm going to open up a brand new deck of cards, so I've got some nice sharp cards for this one. Here we go. Nope. Hey!
Adam's best effort can only penetrate 1/4 of an inch. But how will the killer deck cut it?
Okay.
Ready when you are. There we go. That's a hit.
Even at 150 miles an hour, the card only penetrates 1/2 inch. Now, what about a dangerous, but generally not deadly, pellet gun? The lead slug is traveling at around 350 miles an hour. and burrowed in 7 inches. And last,
In 3.
well, crossbows, anyone?
That's pretty devastating.
At 200 miles per hour, the heavy crossbow bolt has penetrated 20 inches. The MythBusters have cashed their last chip. The fastest card they can throw lacks the penetrating power of even a humble pellet gun.
Well, all that being said, Jamie, are you willing this time to put your body on the line and take a hit from the machine?
Yeah, sure, I don't mind. Well, I think it's only fair to give Adam a chance once in a while to inflict some damage on me.
So it's shirt off.
It's so nice that Jamie's finally doing this instead of me.
Eye protection on.
Look at what a fine specimen of manhood he is for 83. Here we go.
Jamie is putting his body where his myth-busting mouth is.
Really?
He's taken 2 for the team, and it seems the killer machine ain't quite so killer.
Does it really? I figured it might. Do you have any marks? Hey, we drew blood! Look at that! Excellent, we drew blood with a card.
Oh, there, that was the arm.
Look at that. I believe that might be your first significant injury on MythBusters, Jamie.
Could be.
So unless you can bleed to death from a nasty paper cut, it seems a killer hand will remain a figure of speech.
Well, you know, we fired everything we had in the shop at this piece of ballistics gel, and for the life of me, even from our Uber machine, I didn't really see anything I thought was lethal from that playing card.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
I'm willing to say that this myth is pretty busted.
I'd agree. It doesn't happen in mass.
A treat for 5-year-old Cameron D. Hall turned into a scary moment after just 1 lick.
And it just blew. That fast. Boom.
It's the case of the exploding Jawbreaker. How can a common candy become a ticking time bomb?
I can't imagine if a child got hit with candy like that was heated like that. It would be terrible.
Well, Adam, you know, a microwave is clearly the best option for this kind of thing to happen with, because we know that it did in fact occur with a kid getting his face burned.
Yeah, but Jamie, I really think we need to look at some other options that might have created some kind of explosion. And the first thing that comes to mind is a chemical reaction, where some part of the manufacturing process went awry and left a chemical that reacted with another chemical in the candy. And I think the prime candidate for this would be caustic soda or lye, which is often used in the cleaning of food processing equipment.
Yeah, lye is pretty reactive. It's powerful stuff.
So let's put that under some heat and see what we get.
Okay.
It's a highly unlikely scenario, but it is possible, and it may cause an explosion. How could a MythBuster resist that? 4 samples are prepared. 2 contain caustic soda and ground up Jawbreaker. And 2 contain caustic soda and ascorbic acid, a common food additive, also known as vitamin C. Water will be added to one set of samples, heat will be added to the other.
Nothing's happening at all.
But Adam wants a kaboom, and he wants it now.
Let's put him on high for 5 minutes. He did. He put it on high for 5 minutes.
I discovered it's really effective for cleaning out the microwave in just a couple of minutes.
Whoa! Wow! Okay, that would be, okay, stop. Wow, you've made like a burning cupcake.
Oh, that was fun.
That's spectacular.
The dry caustic soda and crushed Jawbreaker mix proves highly combustible.
Well, it produced a lot of hot ash.
The caustic soda, ascorbic acid, and water mix also proves to be a surprise.
Whoa, that's super hot.
Yes, it is.
I think we should take this last mixture of the caustic soda and the candy powder and put it at the same temperature the Jawbreaker was at in the oven under radiant heat.
Okay.
This will approximate a caustic soda contaminated candy being left out in the sun.
Whoa!
And the result is dramatic.
All right, well. Glove. That was spectacular. That's a handy way to get rid of a paper cup. Jeez. Look at that, man. That's crazy. Feel it. It's like rock hard. Feel it. Feel it. Are you convinced? I mean, that radiant heat was enough within just 5 minutes to make the caustic soda react with the powdered candy and create like an incredible expansion, explosion, flames, everything.
Yeah, I guess that's a possible scenario. You know, it is conceivable that they could use a caustic soda to clean out the equipment for candy making, and if some of it got with the sugar and it got heated up, obviously it creates a reaction.
Although it's far less likely to occur because manufacturers in the food industry are held to much higher standards than 5-year-olds with microwaves, I think this is still a very plausible scenario for exploding Jawbreaker.
So the MythBusters have created Jawbreaker explosions with microwaves and with chemicals. But what if neither of those were involved?
So a key element that keeps popping up in the stories about the exploding Jawbreakers is the plastic packaging. And on the off chance that the packaging itself will somehow focus heat and make the Jawbreaker more explosive, I think we should place it under a radiant heat source like a toaster oven and leave it there for a while, see if it actually has any significant effect on the Jawbreaker.
Putting the Jawbreaker in the toaster oven is like leaving it in the sunshine for a couple of hours. Something any kid could accidentally do.
Anything happening yet?
Not yet.
But leaving a candy in the sun couldn't really have any effect. Or could it?
Oh, look, it's like the bag's almost like pillow-like. All right, well, let's put them in the jaws.
Okay. In the bag, right?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Is
Yeah.
everybody clear?
Nope, that's as hard as a human can bite, and I'm getting squat.
Okay.
When he removes the Jawbreaker from its plastic wrapper, Jamie is in for a surprise.
Well, actually, it is still hard on the outside, and it's molten in the middle. That's interesting. I never would have thought it would do that. I thought the only way we could get that was with the microwave.
Well, under radiant heat, it got molten in the middle and stayed crispy outside. I think we've come up with 3 possible scenarios for candy destruction.
There you go.
This is confirmed, confirmed, confirmed.
Maybe, but what about that other scenario? You know, the one about the evil, genius 5-year-old with a bag of gunpowder.
It's kind of cute.
Cute, but deadly. The Jawbreaker from hell.
How likely is this scenario depends on whether or not you live in the real world or Wile E. Coyote's world. Because I can imagine a child licking on a ball with a fuse that's going on it.
This scenario doesn't really have anything to do with this, with what we understand happened in the stories. We're just doing it for fun.
Let the fun begin.
3, 2, 1.
Just chat amongst yourselves a moment.
Nothing's happening. Can we get a fresh battery?
Take 2.
Okay, we're ready?
Give a countdown, please.
And 3, 2, 1. That was a nice boom.
It's like a magic trick. It's like, watch me make half the ball disappear. Well, that is an exploding Jawbreaker. I think we have examined every last way you could get candy to explode.
And a few ways that they can't.
That's it then. I mean, all our scenarios paid out and were possible. Myth totally confirmed.
Confirmed, and as Christine found out, dangerous. Don't try any of these experiments at home. Like Christine, you could end up burned. The static cannon myth seems to have short-circuited. The MythBusters can't generate a fatal shock out of their PVC pipe, no matter how much sand they blast it with. They need to find a way to create a much bigger static charge. And Jamie and Adam have very different ideas about how to do it.
You know, I didn't get any satisfaction out of the last thing with the static cannon. Now we're going to have some real fun. We're going to make a Van de Graaff generator and see whether we can make some big static electricity out of it.
A Van de Graaff generator uses a spinning belt to carry a charge picked up from a brush at the bottom of a long tube to another brush at the top, where the charge is distributed onto a metal sphere. It's a simple machine, but can generate in excess of 100,000 volts.
So on top of this is going to go an aluminum sphere, and basically all we have to do is put a belt in the middle of this, and that'll probably be the hardest part. This belt we have to custom make.
So the build team will try to create a Van der Graaf generator and a bigger kick than the static cannon. Scotty starts on the rollers for the belt.
Oh, Happy New Year.
The belt itself is Carrie's job.
I'm trying to precisely cut this vinyl so that Jamie doesn't get mad at me.
See whether they're actual.
Incredibly, Jamie didn't have a huge metal globe lying around the workshop. They've had to order one in. The belt will be driven by a small electric motor.
This is brass screen, which we're going to make into the electron sprayers. Those little fingers reach out and grab the electrons.
They have all the components they need for the generator.
And there you have it.
Adam hasn't given up on that static cannon. He's got a hunch it just needs a helping hand to produce that fatal jolt.
Well, we're back to our old MythBuster tricks with our friendly early capacitor, the Leyden jar. This is a device for storing a charge. It actually acts like a capacitor. And it does that with a layer of foil on the outside and a layer of foil on the inside, and the charge is stored between them.
Those two foil sheets are enough to store quite an impressive little charge.
Okay, the meter's actually reading about 5,000 volts.
5,000 volts. Not bad. But will a bigger Leyden jar store a bigger charge?
That's 6,000. I'm building it up. That's 7,500. 9,500.
So bigger is better when it comes to storing static. And out in the workshop, there's a very big pipe indeed.
Hello! Sandblasting our big PVC pipe didn't actually yield a very large charge, and it's mainly because we've been finding out through our research that PVC is actually quite poor at storing a high voltage charge. Part of the myth says that he was cleaning paint off the pipe, and I know that metallic paint is actually somewhat conductive. So I'm going to paint the end of this pipe and the inside and outside with a chrome spray paint to see if I can create, in fact, a modified Leyden jar, something that can actually store a charge and perhaps discharge it all at once out at the end.
So the cannon is becoming a Leyden jar, one end sprayed inside and out with a metallic paint.
The tape is a key part of the Leyden jar's construction in that the outer and the inner surfaces, the metallic surfaces, can't actually be in contact with each other. Only when they're close but not in contact are they able to store a small charge between them.
This could prove a stroke of genius, or maybe it's just desperation. When the paint dries, Adam's pipe will certainly look more like a cannon. But that will mean nothing if it doesn't pack a killer punch. Back in the land of Van der Graaf, the generator is coming together. Things are going well. Here's a sentence you don't hear too often on a MythBusters build.
Well, that was a lot easier than I thought it'd be. It's actually kind of scary. I'm a little concerned as to whether we could actually hurt somebody with this, because the only people that I know that have played around with these things have played around with little ones that you can put on a desktop. This is not a little one. Yeah, I have no idea what this is going to do. Let's find out. Go ahead and plug it in. Be ready to unplug it real quick.
Okay. Gotcha. That hurt.
If it's working, there should be a static field around the dome.
You're the one with the hair.
Go do it.
All right. Will this make my hair stand up?
Oh. No! That was that long! Oh my God! I've had enough for one day. I want to go home.
And now, for your entertainment, the oldest trick in the book.
Adam, check it out. It's not working. I don't know what's wrong with it.
That's our Van der Graaf generator?
No.
Why not work? Why not work?
We haven't figured it out yet.
It's not that spectacular.
Little.
It's like a carpet spark.
Yeah.
So you've made a 7-foot-tall carpet.
By adjusting the position of the brushes, they should be able to increase the charge being generated.
Wait, don't plug it until I'm holding on to it.
Standing on a wooden box, Carrie is insulated from the ground. The charge is building up on her body, repeating that hair-raising old-school science lab trick.
Feel it.
And your hair is standing up a little
Going
better.
up. Yeah, here it goes.
We're at 50,000 volts.
Unexpectedly, it turns out that's a charge big enough to suck all the power out of Jamie's legs.
Whoa. Jamie, you want to run in and get a shot?
Do it, do it.
Come on, baby.
Touch it.
Show those big cars.
Adam will give you mouth to mouth if you pass out.
Go. Scotty will.
Well, the machine's working. We can tell it's working. It's making all this horrible popping noise.
What are you doing? Are you snake charming over there?
You're just gonna make it mad.
You've been doing some sort of Grateful Dead dancing by it for some reason. Come on, let's do it.
I'm feeling it. My arm hairs are standing up out here.
Ow. Did you get that one?
Now it's time for Adam to step up.
Oh, wow. God, I feel the power. I feel the power. Oh! Ah! Stop sparking my... Ow!
This is doing nothing for the myth's credibility. Even with that big charge, the current is so small and the pulse so short that no one is getting hurt.
It's the full God-giving knowledge to Adam. Oh! Well, Jamie, according to our instruments, I've got a couple of 100,000 volts heading through my body. And even with this amount, it still, it hurts, but it's not killing us, and it doesn't sound like a thunderclap.
That's true. Can I go away now?
You can go away now.
No one's going anywhere until they finally lay this myth, or Adam, to rest. Has he created a deadly weapon with his static cannon come Leyden jar? Despite the metallic paint, the charge just isn't building up.
This is really sluggish. It doesn't really seem to want to go above 4,000 volts.
All right, Jamie.
And the discharge isn't hair-raising either.
20 milliamps. Yeah, there's no drop. The voltage dropped from 4,000 to 0, and we had a 20 milliamp jump. That's totally not nearly enough to hurt anybody.
It seems PVC pipe just isn't very good at storing a big charge. And there's another problem. Like humidity, dust in the air can help dissipate a static charge. So the sandblasting in the myth could well have doomed it from the start.
Well, Jamie, Christine was recording the entire time, and although the paint actually acted like a Leyden jar, and it did store a small charge, that charge never got above 6,000 volts. And then when you did a discharge, and the amperage dump was like 20 milliamps. I mean, it's not nearly enough to cause you any real damage through your skin. I think this myth is totally busted.
Yeah.
Okay.
On this episode of MythBusters, it's a shocking state of affairs. Adam and Jamie have a MythBuster meltdown.
I'm just expressing my opinion, and I'm not giving you about your opinion.
And find themselves in over their heads to make killer quicksand.
If the pump stops during the experiment, we could die because we'll be encased in 20,000 pounds of sand.
And see what happens when tattoos and technology meet. Can body art go boom? Who are the MythBusters?
Am I missing an eyebrow?
Adam Savage.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
And Jamie Heineman.
Quack, damn you.
I wouldn't say Jamie's an evil genius.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
When will the fun ever stop?
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. Few things are more shocking than Adam in a bathrobe, but the first myth gets close.
What's with the bathrobe?
Well, Jamie, this time we are attacking one of the classic Hollywood movie myths, which is simply, if you threw an electrical appliance into my bath, I'd get electrocuted.
Right, well that means appliances. Our favorite haunts.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
Okay.
As Adam said, this grisly death is a favorite with filmmakers. Take Chucky, for example. Our demonic doll gives the bathing beauty a bath time buzz.
Lots of appliances. And I see some ground fault interrupters on them.
So there's a rule here about these?
Thrifttown cannot sell hair dryers without GFI switches for safety purposes, which means, if these are dropped into a bathtub, they would turn off
immediately.
Immediately, yes.
A ground fault interrupter detects any sudden change in the flow of electricity and immediately shuts off the current.
Older appliances don't have ground fault interrupters, and so they're potentially more dangerous. So we need to get some of those.
Here's a radio. This would definitely be next to your bathtub.
What about this? It's like zzz, versus zzz. I think this has got more power to it.
No, I think it's this one.
We have a small TV that'll fit into the bathtub.
Oh, that's perfect. That's exactly the television we need.
Honey, I'm home.
The MythBusters have wildly differing ideas about what will happen when these pre-loved appliances hit the water. Jamie's negative.
The analogy that I have about what would happen would be about like lowering a light bulb into the water of the bathtub after you put the toaster in and expecting the light bulb to light up. Now, I know that's not going to happen.
Adam's positive.
He doesn't realize that the live power of the AC is going to come through one leg. The bathtub with the drain pipe is going to ground to earth, and you will be a very fabulous conductor of electricity in that short journey the electricity is making from the appliance to the ground, and it will kill you very quickly, I believe.
Do I know that you won't get electrocuted? I'm not so sure that I'm ready to jump in the tub quite yet, but I don't think so.
To be honest, if Jamie doesn't think anything's going to happen, I have no problem dropping a hairdryer in the bathtub while he's sitting in it. But something tells me he won't.
Adam, we have about every possible appliance you could drop in a bath, and a few more. What's next?
I don't want to test this in just any old bathroom. I'd like to actually have an isolated bathroom where we can get clean tests safely with this. So I'm thinking about having one of the teams of builders build us a bathroom set that is, fully isolated, insulated, and waterproof with a grounded bathtub in it, and perhaps above that something like a resettable collapsing shelf where we can put the appliance on and continually fall into the tub.
Tori and Christine, that's your cue. The boys need a bathroom.
All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to recreate a real bathroom, as close to a real bathroom as possible. So I'm gonna put up 2 walls here, we're gonna tile it, and then I'm gonna have a bathtub here, a sink there, and a toilet there, and hopefully that'll give them what they need.
Rented it for $10, and it's dripping on me. God knows what's in this water.
And the glamour doesn't end there.
Oh yeah, I always get the best jobs.
Of course, they'll need to know how much current is flowing through the water.
This is an amp reader going through, the ground is going to go through that so we can read our amps. And then this is going to go attached to the drain of the bathtub to ground the bathtub.
Now, according to Adam, amperage, not voltage, is the killer. And the lethal limit? He says 70 milliamps.
Right.
Pump somebody with 1,000,000 volts and it's going to hurt him, but if it's under 70 milliamps,
You're not
it's not going to kill him. Your average static electricity shock that you can feel is like 10 to 30,000 volts.
Now, the basic idea is this. There's a body in the bath, in this case, a dummy made from ballistics gel. 2 copper paddles in the dummy's chest represent the heart. The paddles are wired up to a relay, which will trip when the current passing between them hits 70 milliamps. That means death. The bathtub's insulated and ready to go. Now, they need someone to get in it.
So what we've got to do is we've got to make a full ballistic gel body for the appliances in the bathtub myth. And we're going to use this old mold that Jamie has, which is a beautiful fiberglass mold. We're going to have to seal this puppy because ballistics gel filling all the way up, if it starts to leak, we're absolutely screwed. And we ran into trouble on that last season.
This time, he's taking no chances. Once the mold has been well greased with lard,
Jamie's built entire special effects sets out of lard.
It's sealed tight with silicone and aluminum tape.
Just for safety's sake, double. We do it double. Once we do the whole scene, we'll go back and do it again. Okay.
Now, just pack ice around the mold.
All right, well, let's start getting our buckets and pouring, and pray God we have enough.
Pour in the liquid gel and wait for the dummy to set. Adam's feeling just a little nervous.
Let's get on our knees and pray. I don't know to whom. Is there a patron saint of ballistics gel? Killer quicksand. Is that why I'm standing here in this stupid pith helmet?
No, you're standing there in a stupid pith helmet because you're an idiot. The myth on this one is not whether quicksand exists, it's whether killer quicksand exists. Like you see in the movies, the stuff that actually sucks you down.
So we're going to try and replicate a killer quicksand that would have some kind of suction effect or something that would drag someone all the way under.
Exactly.
It's another classic Hollywood horror. Johnny Weissmuller could always rely on killer quicksand to swallow Tarzan's enemies. But is there even a grain of truth in the killer quicksand story? Can you really be sucked down into a bottomless pit?
It's right around the corner up here, right?
Yeah, have you ever been there before?
Yeah, this is the place I've bought fake eyeballs.
The funny thing is, no one knows if killer quicksand exists, but everyone knows what to do if they ever fall in some.
Isn't that the myth, the myth about quicksand, that you shouldn't fight it? You should, the more you fight, the faster you sink?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I saw in the Tarzan movies.
Exactly.
Jamie's already got a particular sand particle theory.
So there's got to be some kind of threshold of fineness where at a certain point it just will stay in suspension like mud.
Right. Well, but then we need something that we need like the lowest density stuff you've got.
A bag of your finest sand, please. And we do mean your finest. The guys settled on 2 types of fine-grained sand and some clay powder.
So, Bob, if we come up with some killer quicksand, we'll give you the recipe so you can, and keep your patrons informed.
I probably have customers that would like to have it, so yeah, that'd be great.
The question isn't whether quicksand is real. It's real, all right. Just ask Gerald Gray.
I was horseback riding with my family. I was about 8 years old. I was on the Santa Ana River in Southern California, which is a very sandy bottomed river, and we knew it had quicksand, but we never could tell where that was going to be. Their horses missed it and got to shore. My horse went down. He sank to his belly, and I was afraid to get off, and I was warned not to get off because there was quicksand between me and shore. But we managed to get ropes from the horses on shore to my horse and pull him out. Otherwise, he would have perished if he'd been alone.
Quicksand is the result of a process called liquefaction. Water rising from under the ground oversaturates the sand or soil, reducing the friction between the particles until they can no longer bear any weight. When it comes to the full-scale test, Adam and Jamie will need to know the density of their quicksand mix. If it's more dense than normal water, it might be a little difficult to sink. So Myth-turned Christine is sent off to make a hydrometer, an instrument which measures the liquid density. A hydrometer is a float with a calibrated stem. Lead shot acts as ballast, keeping the float vertical. You take the reading at the point where stem and liquid meet. Unfortunately, one little slip and Christine's up to her neck in trouble.
Now you've just ruined my threaded rod. This is trash. So
I'll give you the $1.50 later, okay?
chuck it in onto the nut. Think before doing.
Yes.
See, that's not a big mistake on that thing over there. $30,000 machine. So don't do anything without thinking. You know, just stop and think again before you turn anything on or do anything with this until you're really at home with it. Christine's a really hard worker, which is a good place to start. Unfortunately, she doesn't know anything.
Jamie is a very good teacher, actually. He'll pick things that are just out of my range of ability, show me how to do them, and then go away. Walk away and say, I need this by 4, which is actually very effective with me, so.
One of the things that we do here for a living is normally using tools and materials in ways that they're not intended to be used. That's what we do. So when we've got junior people involved with that kind of thing, I have to kind of stop and make a mental note. I'm like, this is a potential hazard. You didn't glue that in upside down, did you? I can't leave you alone for a second, can I?
I think we need to test it in scale first because, you know, the real deal is going to involve a lot of material, so we want to kind of figure out what works best first. And I figured we rig some 5-gallon buckets, maybe some ways of plumbing, and then with water to come up through the bottom of the sand. That probably involves some sort of filter device on the bottom. And then once we get it all dialed in and figure out how it works, we'll know what we're going to do on the big version.
And we'll see if there's a difference between how the different sands behave, you know, with this kind of flow of water through them.
Exactly.
Time for a small-scale test. First, regular sand.
Fill her up. Ah, cool.
Supports it, no problem.
Right. In fact, I can push on it, and I can't push it down.
Okay.
That's not moving anywhere. The sand is totally compacted.
Okay.
So turn it on really low.
Okay.
But what happens when water starts to rise through the sand?
Look at that. It's sucking it up like a cowboy's horse.
But Jamie thinks the water needs to be diffused more evenly through the sand.
So what's going on?
Slight improvements, I hope. I've got a double diffusion going on here. We sacrificed an extra bucket or two for this, but in between it also is this fabric, which is a much finer weave, and it should hold our fine sand, if not the other things, silt or whatever. And
what about...
that goes into this bucket.
Right. How about sealing the outside edge here?
It'll do that. Now that there's no fabric, it actually does a pretty good job of a jam in there.
This time they try one of the sands from the craft store.
Well, at this rate, it's not like I'm plummeting to the bottom, but it is definitely letting me drop a lot quicker than the sand normally would. and it also is resisting pulling back.
Now they're onto something. Or is that into something?
So you think it's about the lowest possible flow?
Yeah. There you go.
That's a lot of suction.
That's enough to cause you a problem if your whole body's doing that.
Well, let's try the finer sand and see if we get a little more control.
Okay.
That's cool. How is it to get back out again? Really easy?
Well, not exactly. I'm gonna try and lift it.
Ooh.
So that actually...
The finer sand makes a difference in its suction.
Yeah.
What about the clay powder?
Ooh, that feels fun.
Yeah, this isn't working at all. I mean, this is just mud, and it won't let the water flow through it at all.
So they've settled on the type of sand. And the miniature quicksand rig works well. But can they make it work on a large scale?
Oh, I think it's definitely going to work. Like, without a doubt, I think we've got this wired. I think we're going to be able to dial the flow in. It's a lot of stuff to move around. I mean, like 20,000 pounds of sand and 15,000 pounds of water and big pumps and stuff. I mean, it's a hell of a deal.
It certainly is. And soon the pressure will start to show.
I'm just expressing my opinion, and I'm not giving you shit about your opinion. I'm just saying, I think...
You give me shit about every one of my opinions.
Meanwhile, Adam and Jamie are trying to find out what happens when an appliance splashes down in your bath. Wow! When that happens, the electrical current leaking from it is drawn towards the metal drain. Now, H2O by itself isn't a great conductor, but the presence of salt helps. And because the human body contains a high concentration of salt water, the current passes right through. It's time to unveil our bath-bound dummy.
Oh, Jamie, we have always dreamed of such a thing.
I think we're good. Let's do it.
He's perfect.
Our first problem has been encountered.
Well, almost.
His arms fell off.
I say we get some carrots and some celery and have a stew.
The copper paddles are inserted into the chest. Ballistics gel has similar properties to human flesh and should conduct electricity the same way.
This relay is set to be tripped at about 6 volts, which we know from experimentation means that there's about 70 milliamps traveling across the heart.
But it wouldn't be MythBusters without pyrotechnics. So Adam's rigged up a flash pot to ignite when the current hits 70 milliamps.
When we get a lethal voltage across the heart of the dummy, it's going to short this wire, poof, and we'll get a nice poof and we'll all know. And it's instantly reloadable.
The MythBuster way.
3, 2.
That was cool.
Isn't that good?
Right, this bath is hot. Time to apply an appliance. This hairdryer has a ground fault interrupter, so if the MythBusters have created a proper circuit, it should cut out the moment it hits the water.
3, 2, 1, go!
Uh-oh, something's not right.
Oh, look at the water flowing.
It's pumping. What is our amperage? What's our amperage?
0.95 AC.
What kind of ground fault interruption is this? It's pumping water. I would say that's bad.
Well, the relay didn't trip, and the ammeter didn't show enough amperage to kill somebody. That's it. I think we should try an appliance without the ground fault interrupter next. So what do we got?
Well, we got a radio. All right, give me the countdown, baby.
Okay, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, drop.
Tori's shelf collapses like a gallows trapdoor.
We're up to 1 milliamp now.
1 milliamp, 1/70th of a lethal dose of electricity. Well, that's bupkis, I believe, is the scientific term for that.
Something's bupkis, Adam. Question is, what? The MythBusters call in some electrical engineering know-how for a powwow.
Transistor, and then the second part, the part that feeds through the transistor.
That says on the coil right there on the...
So is the current flowing through the bottom?
Turns out there are 2 faults in the system. Adam and Jamie.
Well, Jamie, I mean, this is just a classic MythBusters screw-up we've got on our hands. First off, the resistance of the human body in the bath is more like 1,000 ohms rather than the 20,000 ohms that we've got read on the ballistics gel. Then it turns out that electrocution is classified as 6 milliamps across the heart, not the 60 we were originally testing for.
And then I screwed up because I had the multimeter on the wrong setting and I was measuring voltage instead of amperage, which meant that we weren't getting the circuit grounded.
Talk about getting your wires crossed. Oh well, even the MythBusters make mistakes. The guys quickly recalibrate the system.
That's it.
And the GFI dryer takes another dive.
2, 1. Well, the ground fault interrupter tripped immediately, thus proving itself a life-saving device.
Okay, so now the circuit's working. This older hairdryer doesn't have a ground fault interrupter. On each drop, the amount of current across the paddles is relayed to Jamie's computer.
I'd call that dead. Yeah, what are you reading, Jamie? I'm seeing 8.5 milliamps here across the heart.
This one is dead as a dodo, well over the threshold.
All right, shall we power down?
So Adam was way off. Forget 70 milliamps. Just 6 milliamps fizzing through a body is enough to cause loss of muscular control, making it impossible to get out of the bath.
Next up, toaster. Smell the danger. All right, you ready?
Recording.
Okay, pulling in 3, 2, 1. Whoa.
Our friend here is toast.
Oh yeah, 12 milliamps. That's very lethal, totally lethal. Toasters, no good. Next item, one of my personal favorites.
The curling iron. Let's go. What are you, Pee Wee Hermione?
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. 4.5. It's going to be really uncomfortable.
I think you got out of the bath by now.
You think you can? Don't forget, we've got 4.5 milliamps at the heart. It means the rest of your body is going to be like, lethal dose is 6 milliamps, but 4.5's got to suck.
4.5 milliamps, it's a little close for comfort. I think I wouldn't want to be in there with that.
And now the iron, or as we refer to it around here, Fierro de los Muertos. Wow, that's the highest spike yet. We got 32 milliamps. This thing is literally pumping death into our subject here.
32 milliamps. That's more than 5 times the lethal limit.
Items that had large heating elements are delivering a lot more current, and that's specifically because a heating element is basically a modified short across wire, so it's a lot of exposure to the water.
The MythBusters also discovered that if the appliance lands closer to the metal drain, the dose of electricity is drastically reduced because the current has less distance to travel.
We know that you can be electrocuted. Now we'd like to find out what would happen if you added something like bubble bath to the water.
Will the water's conductivity be changed?
Nope, that's not as much as it was the last time. It's only about 11 milliamps. Last time it was 18, I believe. The soap suds don't help it at all. In fact, it seems like it cut it down. Next up, we're going to try 200 mils of fake urine in the bath.
Our urine is just water with salt and food dye added.
Fake wee test in 3, 2, 1.
Well, that's got it. It's just right in the death zone.
And finally, Epsom salts. Remember, salt normally increases water's conductivity.
Big spike.
Wow.
That was over an amp. That'd be huge. You'd be toast. You'd fry. You'd boil.
This from the guy who thought nothing would happen.
I really liked this one. We learned a lot on this. You can definitely die if you drop an appliance into the tub.
Oh, absolutely. Surprisingly, it actually turns out that the location of where the appliance falls in the bathtub really has a strong effect on the severity of the shock you'd get.
And what's in the water will determine how quickly you die.
Everyone always wants to know if we're just busting myths or if we're actually confirming them. And this one, 100% confirmed. Yeah, we're done.
The MythBusters are trying to create quicksand. Not ordinary quicksand, killer quicksand. Stuff that'll suck you right under.
I'm pretty sure it's going to work. It's just a question of how well, because while I know that we can sink in there, I don't know how fast we're going to get it. The ideal would be to get so you plummet in there, but then you get stuck.
For this one, the guys are going to need one mighty big bucket.
Whoa! Stop!
This 2,000-gallon tank has played a starring role before on MythBusters.
Hey, Adam, did you hear the guy tell us what this was for?
What was it for?
It was like fecal matter.
So I'm going to cut this tank down to just over 8 feet from the inside. Oh, that was really satisfying. These gauze holes will actually allow water to get out, but keep the sand inside, and that'll make the top of our quicksand not like a slurry, but actually look more like sand, which, you know, is more realistic to what people think of quicksand looking like.
Meanwhile, Jamie and Christine start work on the diffuser. The gauze will let water rise into the tank, but stop sand from flowing back into the pump.
So what we've got is a huge 6-foot tank, it's about 8 feet high. We're going to feed water up through this diffuser into 7 feet of sand. And when we get that water to flow at the right rate, what we should end up with is quicksand.
Our task is not only to build quicksand, but killer quicksand. And I have my doubts that we'll be able to do this because when you start to think about what's involved, the sand actually makes it harder for you to drown in it because it's in effect making the water more dense. Water with sand in it is heavier than water without sand in it. Hence, you're going to be more buoyant.
This pool will serve as the catch basin and reciprocating tank for our quicksand rig. You're looking good. Another foot. All right, that ought to do it. Yeah!
The tank's in position.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's time to fill the pool. And that's when the quicksand experiment gets a little sticky.
Crank it all away.
Adam wants to call in a fire hose and get the job done quickly. That means getting permission to use a hydrant, phone calls, probably some expense. But Jamie's happy to use his garden hose.
It's a little under 30 seconds for 5 gallons.
All right, which means 10 gallons a minute. So 10 minutes is 100 gallons, 1,000 gallons is 100 minutes, 2,000 gallons is 200 minutes. It's just over 3 hours to fill that tank, and then another probably hour or 2 to get that pool. So it's 5 hours of filling. That's as opposed to doing the fire hose where it's like 40 minutes.
3 hours and 20 minutes.
His partner won't budge. Under that beret is one stubborn MythBuster.
But
nope, we can continue to not err on the side of caution and just waste time because you're cheap.
I'm just expressing my opinion, and I'm not giving you your opinion. I'm just saying I think it's
about every one of my opinions. Every last single one of them. Yeah. You have a different one, and you talk until I can't stand to hear you talk anymore, and then we go with your idea.
Yeah, you baby. You know, now I got to listen to you whine about it all the time, and you know, the whole time it's filling, it's like, wah, wah, wah.
I like to do things efficiently and kind of fast, and Jamie is always looking for the kind of lowest amount of, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like the least amount of effort involved. So he wants to go with just the garden hose, where I like to go with the fire hose. The fire hose, I know the whole thing's full inside of like 15, 20 minutes, you know, but the garden hose is going to take several hours.
But there's no time for tantrums.
I'm going to go turn on the water.
20,000 pounds of sand have just arrived.
That's a lot of sand!
Along with an engineering geologist who knows plenty about quicksand.
more easily forms in a situation where you have very fine sand. In fact, geologists sometimes call it sugar sand. So most of your quicksand is in really fine-grained sand.
So Tom, the 20,000 pounds of sand we've got here, is this great for quicksand?
Oh, this is probably as good as it gets because it's very fine-grained and there's so much surface area here that when the water flows through it means the water can grab onto that and that'll create the quick condition.
This irrigation pump can move up to 1,400 gallons of water a minute. But if it stops while Adam and Jamie are in the quicksand, the sand will suddenly compact. And the MythBusters will have some pressing problems. Adam and Jamie are suddenly facing danger on two fronts. On one hand, the guys could be sucked under by killer quicksand, or they could be crushed.
Tom's pointing out quite realistically that if the pump stops during the experiment, we could die because we'll be encased in 20,000 pounds of sand, is cause for real concern.
Before I talked to Tom, I wasn't that concerned about going into the quicksand, but I think he has a good point, and we should be careful with this.
We'll leave Adam and Jamie to ponder their fine-grained fate. There are a host of medical-related myths swirling around cyberspace. Remember the government mind-controlled chips being placed in the arms of blood donors?
Little sting, here we go.
When Adam and Jamie busted that one, it was a shot in the arm for science and common sense.
I don't notice anything at all. I feel perfectly normal now.
Now the build team have got another myth that'll really get under your skin.
You guys are gonna love this one. Our next bit is called the exploding tattoo. Apparently, the myth goes that if you have some sort of decorative tattoo and go into an MRI, the tattoo explodes.
Oh, are you worried?
Well, I'm assuming that you guys are going to put me into an MRI.
Let's outline the situation. Tattoo ink, especially ink used more than 20 years ago, contains traces of metal. A magnetic resonance imager, or MRI, is basically a powerful magnet with a force at least 30,000 times greater than the Earth's magnetic field. When metal fragments in the tattoo meet the MRI magnet, so the story goes, the result is a lot more painful than actually getting the tattoo in the first place.
So are you going to get an MRI?
No.
No?
No.
You understand that the job on MythBusters is to put your body to the test, and being the one with the tattoos, I think you need to go at least have an MRI on your arm.
Come on, Scotty. Adam and Jamie are about to throw themselves into quicksand. The least you could do is stick your inked up arm in an MRI. After all, it is for science.
My ghost dog.
I think she actually looks scared.
She looks cute in that nightgown, though.
Staff here have heard the exploding tattoo story, but don't think Scotty will wind up incapacitated.
1 or 2 patients out of 100 who have a tattoo and an MRI scan to have a reaction, but the reactions that have been described are all minor, consisting of a little bit of discomfort or some redness at the tattoo, but nobody has described exploding tattoos.
Do you think it's possible that the magnetic field is inducing some sort of current in the pigments or in the material in the tattoo?
It's possible, but it seems unlikely because usually to get induced currents you need lengths of wire or loops, so it's hard to see how these tiny particles could have currents induced in them, but nobody could say it's not happening for sure.
Are you okay?
What's that smell? It smells like sizzling bacon.
At the first sign of trouble, the scan will be stopped.
Looks like a T-bone steak.
Yeah.
An MRI scan targets the body's billions of hydrogen atoms. The atoms line up with the strong magnetic field and are then bombarded by radio waves. The radio waves are absorbed by the atoms and the resulting signal sent to a computer, which turns the data into a 2D image.
Is there any distortion in the image or sign of the tattoo?
No.
No?
Scotty's arm full of ink is still intact. No pain, no discomfort, no explosion.
No, you're looking all right.
But of course, the tattoo myth ain't busted yet. The build team's barely scratched the surface.
We still have to bust this myth. It looks like we're gonna have to do some experiments. We're gonna have to get the compounds that go into all of these pigments and test them individually to find out what could cause any sort of irritation or explosion.
So what goes into tattoo ink? The pigments are a potpourri of chemical compound, including iron oxide, zinc oxide, and titanium dioxide.
So the theory is the metallic components that are used in tattoo pigments have been having some reactions with the MRI magnetic field. So what we have here are a couple of those components. We have iron oxide, we have the copper and the zinc, and the mercury. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to expose some of these materials to a strong electromagnetic field.
We can see if the pigments line up with the magnetic field. Secondly, if the theory is that there's sort of a current being induced, we have a voltmeter to check for that. And of course, if the pigments are creating some sort of excitation in the skin and heating it, we have a thermometer to check and see if there's any temperature difference.
Which compound is the culprit? One by one, they're tested.
Okay. Copper and zinc.
But only one, iron oxide, reacts to the magnetic field.
After all of that testing, it looks like iron oxide is definitely the culprit here. I mean, you could see it just moving over the magnetic field. It would line up.
Well, we still need to make a tattoo explode. So what I'm thinking is we'll make our own ink. Mix in some iron oxide, make it a thick batch, and then tattoo someone. I figured you'd be the good person who would try it on.
No, no, no,
All right.
no.
The Junior Mythbusters are trying to make tattoo ink that will explode in an MRI. They're going shopping for art supplies at the butcher's.
We need some pork.
But yeah, but it has to have the skin left on it.
Okay.
Oh, look at that.
We can cut the meat off the skin. So what's it gonna be, the leg or the belly?
Don't ask me, I'm a vegetarian.
I would say we should go with the belly. I mean, it's like a nice big canvas that we can draw all over.
It's probably a little more tender as well.
Hey, look, it still has little hairs on it.
This is my old friend Maddie, and he is responsible for the new ink on my arm.
Welcome, Maddie.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And he's here today. He's gonna show us how to tattoo on our pig.
All right.
Hey, Maddie, you ever tattoo a pig before?
Nah, I never tattooed a pig. I was told to try pig ears when I was learning how to tattoo, but I never tried a pig. I used my own leg.
Matty's heard the MRI myth too.
I don't think that it's true because I would hear a lot more about people coming back to the tattoo parlors and being like, what happened to my tattoo? But I've never heard anybody come into a tattoo parlor and say, I went and got an MRI and my tattoo exploded. You know, I think that would be pretty big news.
The pork is cut into portions. Matty will use 2 different inks, a regular tattooing pigment and a special brew full of iron oxide, the one compound that reacted to the electromagnet.
So, Maddie, here's the ultra metallic pigment. Check it out, see if you think the consistency is good enough.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right, it's time to get some pigment into this pig.
It's kind of gross.
You're not getting near my arm. You're not getting near me with that thing.
Carrie, it might be safer if you stick to felt tip.
Let's see if there's any change near it.
Careful your credit cards and stuff again. Make sure you don't wear a wallet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, look at that. I have bobby pins in. I could feel that, too.
Back at the MRI machine, the super iron oxide ink takes on a life of its own. The container is suddenly sucked right into the core.
So that ain't gonna work.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work.
That was completely nutty. The iron oxide got completely sucked into the magnet.
Yeah, the box flew right off, and that was pretty cool.
Thank goodness we taped the top. Otherwise, I don't think they'd let us come back.
The pork bellies are primed for scanning.
Okay, so this is our special MythBusters Super Iron Oxide ink.
So if anyone's going to explode, it's going to be this one.
There's a glitch on the image. The heavy iron oxide content seems to be having an effect.
So you think that what we tattooed is actually making an interference on your scan?
Definitely.
But it's not explosive.
Well, it didn't explode, so go ahead and blot it and see if any of the pigments came up.
No. No. No pigment's been pulled to the surface.
All right, so next one we're going to do is the traditional iron oxide, what you normally find in a regular tattoo parlor.
The iron oxide in the regular ink also interferes with the scan, but the effect is much smaller. But in the end, Scotty, Tori, and Carrie are left with chunks of unexploded tattooed pork.
All right, Scotty, exploding tattoos, tell us what you came up with.
Well, clearly iron oxide is the culprit here. Iron oxide definitely reacts to the magnetic field, and it's very common in a lot of tattoo inks. But at most, it's going to cause heating. There was one case of a blister with the operators that we talked to, but it's not going to explode.
So you're telling us there was no exploding tattoo?
No, Jamie, I know that disappoints you, but I'm a little relieved about that.
So myth confirmed, plausible?
Myth busted, I'm saying.
The MythBusters killer quicksand rig's almost ready.
Push up, push up.
My foot was stuck under it, sorry.
Well, you know, we make this stuff up as we go, and it's always surprising when it actually works like we thought it would, and that's kind of the way this looks like it's doing. Everything's coming together relatively quickly. Very good.
Oh, look at that, that's beautiful.
Just gotta hope it works.
If this valve right here failed, the pump would cease to put water into the tank and our sand would become a deadly solid mass of sand that we would be in.
There's nothing like a huge piece of earth-moving equipment to bring out the boy in Adam.
You're good. Stop.
Well, how about that?
Now I gotta figure out how we're gonna get at that underside. That's pretty scary letting it go all at once. There she goes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, look at the bag drain. Oh, that is so cool.
What do you think? I got my own island. All right, well, the tank is full of sand and water, and we're sort of primed.
Well, let's turn on the pump and start getting some hydration to the sand. Wow, Jamie.
Oh my God!
No problem at all, man. It's going right away. Jamie?
Yeah?
I believe we have quicksand here.
Now, Adam and Jamie were planning on having a nice sandy surface, but what they've got is a quagmire and a quandary.
Unfortunately, our outlet ports aren't letting the water out nearly fast enough. These ports up here that I've put in are supposed to let water out before it reaches over the top of the sand, so that it can look like a sandy beach, and then all of a sudden it turns into quicksand. Unfortunately, the sand is so fine, it's clogging up those ports, and the water's just going up and over it.
The rig is working. Everything's working exactly as planned. We just need to figure out how to filter this sand a little better to get something that looks good.
We've put in some cotton batting, which is like stuffing for stuffed animals, or actually for quilts. And hopefully the larger surface area of that will allow more water to flow through while still holding back the sand. So we're just about to try it. Yeah, it seems okay. Let's get more sand in.
Meanwhile, Christine's managed to finish the hydrometer without destroying Jamie's workshop.
This hydrometer will give us a reading on this water and will tell us if we put it in the quicksand whether it is more or less dense than this water.
The hydrometer floats in the water and its buoyancy level is marked. Then it's dunked in the tank.
It's floating. That just shows really nicely that the water-sand mixture is a lot more dense than water.
This is what it would be if it was H2O.
So in theory, a person will float better in quicksand than normal water. The killer quicksand myth is on shaky ground.
We have several escape techniques. First and foremost, we have what everyone would want if they were near quicksand, is a vine. Secondly, we have a walking stick, which is often recommended in the literature we've read about quicksand as a helpful tool for getting out of quicksand. And third is a bar, which we can throw across the top of the tank, which I should be able to hold on to in case I get really desperate. And at that point, I'll be making those sounds that you just don't make when you're kidding.
Worst case scenario is that Adam dies. And of course, we don't want to see that happen. I'd hate to have to hunt for another co-host. But you know, we've got all the precautions that we can think of reasonably to have on this, and I'm fairly sure that he'll be okay one way or another.
The pith helmet is always a good technique for finding someone who is drowned in quicksand, because it will be floating on the surface there. Oh, look, it's a white sandy beach. I don't feel any danger at all.
You will, Adam, you will. The pump switched on. Water begins to rise through the sand. As liquefaction occurs, Adam gets that sinking feeling.
You know, it feels more dangerous now than I thought. Whoa! Woo, let's go! Well, I started going down really slowly, and then when the water got up to my chest in the sand and water mixture, I kind of felt where I hit my buoyant point, which is just probably right about here. Now we've turned the pump off, and I'll tell you, I'm not going to be able to get back out of here until we turn the pump back on.
Adam is far less dense than the quicksand, and so he's suspended.
I think we've created a very realistic scenario for a worst-case scenario quicksand.
Drown, you bastard.
We're using incredibly fine sand, usually called sugar sand. We've got water bubbling up through it like an artesian well, and you know, when we get it working, we definitely go down in it. I got one leg almost. This vine is great. Oh my God.
Now it's Jamie's turn in the tank.
That's amazing. This is just so buoyant. I'm totally floating here. And I'm not touching the bottom, so that, look at the buoyancy on that. I'm like a piece of styrofoam in here.
This is more fun than should be allowed. All right, what is our final verdict on movie-style killer quicksand?
Well, we know that people and even animals have died in quicksand, but it's usually because of exposure of some sort, like dehydration. You know, they were no longer capable of extracting themselves, so they stayed there till they died.
And the elements got to them. So it's not really like the quicksand dragged them under slowly like we see in the movies and then drowned them.
No, in fact, you're quite buoyant because the quicksand is sort of a mixture of sand and water that's actually quite heavy, and you float like a cork on it. The best thing you can do is just lay on your back, and you're going to bob around fairly high up in it, and then, of course, use the vine or the walking stick or whatever happens to be handy to try and gently pull yourself out of it.
So the MythBusters' final word on Hollywood-style killer quicksand: confirmed, plausible, or busted?
Surprised you even have to ask. It's absolutely busted. No such thing.
I agree. Completely busted.
On this episode of MythBusters, anyone for table tennis? Adam and Jamie plunge to new depths when they try to salvage a sunken sailboat in the silliest of fashions. Just how many ping pong balls would it take to float your boat? And how many balloons before you lose your kid at the carnival?
I think my arm is about to be ripped out of its socket.
Welcome to the Floatathon. Who are the MythBusters?
Am I missing an eyebrow?
Adam Savage.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
And Jamie Heineman.
Quack, damn you.
I wouldn't say Jamie's an evil genius.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
When will the fun ever stop?
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. What happens if your ship catches on fire and sinks in the harbor? Can you bring it back from the bottom? And how about if all you have on hand are ping pong balls?
Well, Jamie, your years as a captain of a ship down in the Caribbean is going to serve you well for this myth. Ping pong ball salvage.
Yeah, it actually seems pretty familiar to me because in those days I formed a salvage company and we actually raised a sunken sailboat using garbage bags just by filling one bag up at a time. And this is actually pretty similar, except we're going to be using thousands and thousands of ping pong balls to do it.
These, to raise a ship?
Yeah.
Off the bottom of the ocean?
That's the myth.
Salvage companies use large flotation bags, which are usually filled with air while on the ocean floor. A slightly different technique was used to raise a piece of Titanic's hull in 1998. The big piece weighed in at 20 tons and took 5 giant bags to lift, each filled with 6,000 gallons of lightweight propane. But in the 1940s, Donald Duck and his nephews had the comical idea of using ping pong balls for underwater salvage. Now, the Duck has made its way into the MythBusters Hall of Fame.
You know, one of the first questions that comes to my mind, Jamie, is how much buoyancy does a ping pong ball have? And actually, how much space a whole bunch of ping pong balls occupies?
Huh.
What he's trying to say is they need to know some numbers before they can even consider this wacky myth. Like precisely how many ping pong balls will lift how much weight in water.
I'm going to zero out my digital scale. Then I'm going to fill this top cup with exactly 1 pound of buckshot and then see how many ping pong balls it takes to negate that 1 pound of buckshot.
If it takes too many balls, this myth may have to remain in the realm of fantasy. Jamie's skeptical about Adam's rig.
Are we going to get like a 30-foot long tong for the real thing?
It takes a fair amount of force to push it down there. The math says 15 balls.
So what's the problem? You don't believe the math?
Well, we never believe the math on MythBusters. Oh.
That's great, Adam. I'll see you later. Let me know when you get that all worked out.
Luckily, Adam is less fragile than his rig. He resets the experiment and tries again. When the cup containing the ping pong balls floats upwards, he has his answer.
That actually confirms my math. I think that was exactly 15 balls to eliminate a pound of weight.
Here comes that sinking feeling.
That's a lot of balls for a lot of pounds.
Experiment number 2 is designed to find out just how many ping pong balls will fit into a confined space. Adam adopts a questionable scientific method. Please, whatever you do, don't try this at home.
So, 2, 4.
Returning to his senses, he uses the fish tank to find out how efficiently ping pong balls pack together.
So I've got just about 300 balls in here. My space is...
Adam crunches the numbers, and they don't look pretty.
51%. 51% packing efficiency. That's crappy. What that means is that there's all this space between the balls where they can't go right up next to each other because of the fact that spheres are not very good at stacking up against each other.
So far, so bad. Is this myth sunk before it's even begun? While Adam and Jamie are getting bogged down, the build team are going up, up, and away.
I love blowing these balloons up. It's fun.
Hey, you can get a job at the carnival.
I have too many teeth.
Yeah, you do.
Scotty, Tori, and Carrie may look like they're having fun, but this is what they call work.
And
That's the way this is gonna go today.
They're testing a myth that has launched 1,000 Hollywood fairground gags. Mr. Bean demonstrates the classic routine. Kid begins to cry. Parent caves in. Kid gets handed a bunch of balloons. Distracted parent looks away. Kid drifts off into the wild blue yonder. But have you ever wondered, if you really did want to float little Elmer off into the next county, how many party balloons it would take? The MythBusters build team is about to find out. They'll need a willing kid and a whole bunch of balloons. But will that bunch be implausibly large? First up, they find out how much weight 10 balloons of the standard 11-inch party variety can lift.
Here's 10 balloons.
there's 10 there, okay.
The balloons lift 100 grams of easy-to-attach paper clips. And converting from metric, it should take 46 balloons to lift 1 pound.
Let's try to get a really skinny kid.
Yeah.
There you go.
How about a cute one?
Well, it looks like 3 balloons won't fly you away.
Don't follow his example, but the MythBusters sound man has volunteered the flying services of his intrepid daughter, Maddie.
Grab a scale. I got a kid. Let's see how heavy you are.
About 40.
44 pounds.
Yeah. Maddie, you want to fly away in balloons? Up in the air?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
afraid of heights?
Nah.
Good.
That's gonna be you.
Maddie may well scream. She's going to be holding on to the biggest bunch of balloons she's ever likely to see.
Oh my God, we're coming up with 2,070 balloons. And we know we're probably gonna pop about 1,000 of them.
Yeah, so we're gonna need to get a lot of balloons.
Somewhere out there is an unsuspecting party store owner, and the MythBusters builders are about to make his day.
All right, let's go shopping.
All right, let's go.
Adam can pull some neat stunts with ping pong balls, but can he and Jamie really use them to salvage a sunken boat?
Now, the essential question for us in testing this myth is, what boat do we raise off the ocean floor?
Well, we did do a thing on a previous experiment with a tugboat that we dubbed the Mythanic.
The Mythanic, that's perfect.
Previously on MythBusters, the guys set out to scuttle the Mythanic, and with it, the myth that a sinking ship will suck you under.
Remember this ship?
The Mythanic.
Adam rates the episode as his scariest piece of myth-busting so far.
The first time this thing started to go under, it went bow first, and the back end was really lurching, something fierce, and I just didn't want to get caught under any part of it.
Surprised by the sea's rapid inflow, Adam bails out early and misses his chance.
The second time it was a lot more gentle, and it started rolling kind of like this, and I sort of sat on the windows of the wheelhouse here and went right under.
Mythanic went under. Adam floated. The myth was safely busted. Now, the guys plan to sink Mythanic again to see if they can bring her back to the surface using only ping pong balls. It all depends on how much Mythanic weighs.
Now, do you remember anything about how much it actually weighed?
I don't have a clue, you know. We'll have to get a crane out here because I think they typically come with scales on them, and we can find out pretty quick.
They know that 15 ping pong balls offset 1 pound of weight underwater. Mythanic won't be sunk until the guys figure out how many balls they'll need to get her back.
Minus the rigging, which is 3,300 pounds roughly, I came up with just under 28,000 pounds. Well, Jimmy, the Mythanic tops out at just under 28,000 pounds, about 14 tons, which by my calculations would take about just under 400,000 ping pong balls to lift it out of the water.
It's an implausible amount, so Mythtanic is abandoned and it's back to the drawing board.
What about your average Joe? I think we look towards this myth as being something we can scale down to, say, a fiberglass sailboat. Let's say your average Joe lost his fiberglass sailboat in shallow coastal waters and happened to be a former table tennis star and has a few dozen thousand ping pong balls lying around. Could he salvage the boat from, let's say, 30 to 35 feet of water?
A small sailboat weighs about 3,500 pounds.
It'll take just over 50,000 balls to make it neutrally buoyant, probably 60,000 to raise it from the bottom of the ocean.
That's a small sailboat.
That's a small sailboat, like a 25-footer or something like that.
And that's still about $25,000 worth of ping pong balls, right?
Yeah, at 50 cents a piece, it's still a hell of a lot of dough worth of ping pong balls. But it's a lot more approachable than 600,000 of them.
The guys don't want to burn the budget, but the next big question is, can ping pong balls take the heat at 35 feet?
Would they hold up under the pressure?
Maybe we should test it first. We wouldn't want to set up this whole rig and find out that, you know, they only go down 10 feet.
That would be bad.
Jamie designs a pressure chamber to simulate what will happen to the ping pong balls 35 feet underwater. If they crack under the higher pressure, this myth is busted before the guys even get their feet wet.
What we're doing now is we're making a pressure vessel, and with around 100 psi or so, which we'd like to bring it up to, that's something sort of special. So we've got to custom make something, and hopefully we won't hurt anybody.
In a previous episode of MythBusters, the boys toyed around with pressure and its effects on breast implants.
Look at that, it's a thing of beauty.
Jamie decided to see if they would compress under the high-pressure conditions of deep-sea diving. He didn't figure on explosive results.
We had a seal blow. Are you guys all right?
Now, the guys are swapping breast implants for ping pong balls, but the danger is just the same.
Never let it be said that Jamie and I don't take high pressure seriously. So we're going to take this down to 1 atmosphere, right?
No, we'll take it all the way to the bottom of the ocean.
Cool.
A blast screen is put in place in case of an explosion.
You ready?
I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
It's time for the big squeeze.
We're at 30 psi. That's 2 atmospheres.
No, that's 1.
But 30 psi is 2 atmospheres.
Yeah, but they weren't made in outer space. So they were made at 1 atmosphere, so we've only added 1 atmosphere.
Oh, okay, I see. So let's go to 45.
Okay.
45 pounds per square inch means adding 2 atmospheres of pressure. That's what the balls would face over 60 feet underwater.
I'm just gonna keep on going.
Okay.
If you hear a big boom, just dive.
Adam sends the ping pong balls deeper and deeper until...
Whoa!
I heard that. What was that?
That was at about...
That was about...
60.
Well, so they didn't burst until 60 psi. That's 4 atmospheres. That's equivalent to 90 feet under the water. The distance we're thinking of, about 30 feet, doesn't seem like these ping pong balls will crush it all down there.
Now that they know pressure won't be a problem, the guys ship in 60,000 ping pong balls. But there's one remaining hurdle. How on earth do they get so many balls down to a sunken boat?
We've thought about mechanical means, huge chains that pulled balls down.
Like tens or hundreds of thousands of ping pong balls.
But we've also thought of these huge bellows pumps.
We don't want to take them down a bag at a time with scuba.
Valve opens, ping pong balls come in, valve closes, ping pong balls shove out. I mean, the amount of custom building we've been pondering here is huge.
The guys are stuck at the drawing board. As ideas run dry, Adam starts to crack up.
Wow. Hey, would you like to hold these?
No.
Concerned for Adam's mental well-being, Jamie makes a practical suggestion.
One of the first things that I think we should do is actually try in a scale experiment, seeing whether a flow of water downward will carry these with them, because we might just get away with having a tube going down into the boat
Gravity takes the water down, and maybe, just maybe, it'll pull some of these ping pong balls with it. And then we could just sit there and dump them in without having to enclose and pressurize the system.
It's the simplest of builds. Adam suspects it may be too simple. Take a funnel and a tube and just add water, gravity, and ping pong balls.
They're coming out. So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Simple, but brilliant. A dispensing rig to dispatch ping pong balls down to Davy Jones' locker.
That is going to save us so much work if this actually works in the large scale.
The MythBusters are no strangers to unpowered flight.
I'm very excited about this. We're starting to lift.
In testing the myth of the lawn chair balloonist, Adam took to the air and took his life in his hands.
I have to let you go.
I'd rather just stay under 100 feet, thank you, over.
So they know you can fly beneath weather balloons if you have enough.
Here we go! Ah!
Wow, look at this.
But could a bunch of party balloons really carry a kid away from a carnival? The MythBusters builders are on the case. At SF Party, they need at least 2,000 balloons, a stack of helium, and a speed lesson in tying.
Okay, so you bring 2 balloons, about the same size, okay, and you tie them into each other.
If Feliciano had $1 for every balloon he's tied, well, he wouldn't be tying balloons anymore.
You got that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Feliciano reveals the secret of making really big bunches of balloons. You've got to have columns, lots and lots of columns.
All right. So
Now I go like that.
Great.
You know, I don't usually admit this in public, but I used to be a face painting clown.
Oh, you know how to tie a little
Balloon animals? Maybe. Dog with a very long tail. Beep, beep, beep.
Hi.
Bye-bye.
Don't have too much fun in here.
We'll try.
I think he just saved us a ton of time. Originally, I had imagined that we were going to tie all these balloons to single strings, each balloon having a string going down to a point. But now what we're going to do is we're going to build columns. We're going to make columns of balloons, 250, and then we'll tie those together down to the kid. So it's going to save us a lot of time.
Time could really burst their bubble on this experiment. How long does it take to inflate 2,000 balloons? Can you even do it in a day? Time for a time trial.
Get set, go.
25 balloons, 3 sets of hands.
This is easy.
The clock is ticking and the team is pumped.
Come on, Scotty! 2 minutes, 20 seconds.
For 25 balloons.
Okay.
2 minutes, 20 seconds.
That was tough.
Minutes.
So, say 2,500 balloons means how long?
I mean, we got 25.
So that's
25.
2,500 times 2.
That's 1,000 times 2.2. Wait, no, wait.
Okay.
I can't listen to you guys right now.
2.
I got 2 women. I'm distracted. I mean,
No.
Eventually, they called a rocket scientist, and she came up with just under 4 hours.
God, I used to be a teacher. The kids are gonna be like, oh my God, she can't even do math anymore.
I ain't never been one for book learning.
Math will soon be the least of their worries. 4 hours is the absolute minimum inflation time. And they've only got 1 day to pull this off.
It's really not going to be that bad.
famous last words.
Yes.
Where better to test the fairground balloon myth than an abandoned aircraft hangar?
All right, we don't have much time, guys.
We've got our balloons, we got our helium tanks, and we don't have much time. We have to blow up 2,000 balloons and get a 4-year-old off the ground by the end of today.
Fearless stunt kid Maddie is bubbling over with excitement.
Yay! Bubbles! We have bubbles. We're in luck.
2,000 balloons should send Maddie on her maiden flight.
So we were wondering if a kid were to get carried away by balloons, where would they end up?
So we've attached little note star balloons to see how far they go. Somebody gets them, they'll call us.
Ready, Maddie? Let it go. Whee!
If the power of wishful thinking counts for anything, there'll be news of those balloons again someday. The team makes like they're getting ready for the world's biggest carnival.
Oh, look! You've got big, fumbly man hands.
This balloon business is child's play.
Whoa! Oh my God.
So we're doing all right.
We're golden.
All right, what number are we at?
This is gonna be 1,900.
They're ahead of schedule, and with a little luck, ahead of the game in terms of lift. Time for a reality check.
What do you got down there, Carrie? Oh, God.
To avoid undue wear and tear on Maddie, they'll use a stunt kid.
Isn't she cute?
She is the exact weight as Maddie. I made her yesterday.
Oh,
They'll hook sandbag Maddie onto the balloons.
This is fantastic. This is pulling me up so hard. You know, we figured that it would hold up about 10 grams per balloon. I think we've got more lift than that.
I think my arm is about to be ripped out of its socket.
It's an impressive bunch. But how much lift do they really have?
Uh-oh.
Well, we're not getting lift.
1,900 balloons only cancel out about half the dummy's weight.
Oh, you're kidding me. She's still 20 pounds. God, I thought we were getting towards the end.
All their lofty calculations have been slapped down by gravity.
Are we sure we counted right on the balloons?
And Maddie's magical mystery flight is starting to look like an impossible dream. Jamie's dispensing rig is a neat way of shipping ping pong balls down to a sunken boat, as long as it's at the bottom of a bucket. So they scale up the experiment to a depth of 15 feet.
This thing is really heavy. Jeez. We're about to stand up a 15, 16 foot tall piece of PVC pipe here. We're to use this to test our ping pong ball rescue rig by putting a pipe all the way down to the bottom of it and seeing if we can pump ping pong balls that full distance.
That's about half the depth they'll be working in when they try to raise the sunken boat for real.
Okay, I'm gonna move the bottom over. Okay, good. Nicely done.
The white PVC pipe is filled with water to create a 15-foot slice of ocean. Adam inserts a funnel into the hose, fires up a water pump, and pours in the ping pong balls, which travel to the ocean bottom before dutifully bobbing to the surface.
That's what I like to see.
I'd say that's a working thing, right?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, cut it.
Well, let's wrap this up and figure out how to make one really big.
Okay.
The experiment has allayed some of Adam's doubts. He still can't find fault with Jamie's rig.
I actually said it was a very successful test. We had about 8 feet of hose above a 15-foot reservoir, and we got ping pong balls coming up from underneath.
Although the experiment works, Adam wants to double the depth, just to be sure. Jamie's seen enough.
If you pour the water into the tube, it's going to go out the bottom. That's what it is.
I mean, if you want to go without caution and put all our eggs in a single basket, we can, but I'm just advocating caution because I'm not sure. I'm happy to do a myth where we go out and have no caution and pick it up and have you eat it
You
and
big
not
baby.
be upset about
Stop
it.
whining.
You're such a pain in the ass about it. I mean,
you're always whining about something. You want to waste time on all sorts of crap.
Off.
A prediction. Adam's going to have to vent that anger. There you go. The pressure of this myth is starting to show.
So, I guess I got to pull this rig down myself.
I'm up here just letting off some steam right now.
Adam needs a cookie. There are times during the day when, things just get all out of hand because Adam needs a little sugar in the system and he gets all cranky over nothing.
I'm just livid. I'm exhausted of advocating caution.
I'm not the uncautious one.
I'm just thinking of all the what ifs.
Why waste the time over this crap?
If you don't think of all the what ifs, then you get boned out there.
This is simple. We're running a hose down into the boat and pouring ping pong balls down it.
That's probably not going to matter. That's probably not going to matter. And that's probably not going to matter.
We just tested it. It works. And stop whining. Go have a cookie.
It's a knockout. After a cookie cure, Adam's ready for more. His next opponent, a giant plastic funnel. Round 1. Round 2. Round 3.
What?
This funnel's got some fancy moves. Adam's on the ropes. Then, out of nowhere, a pile driver. Adam nails it, and he's back to normal.
What's that you say, Sonny? I can't quite hear you.
He applies the finishing touches to his high-tech funnel and completes a neat about-face in his opinion of Jamie's rig.
I'm really actually pleased with this mechanism. This is a classic Jamie ultimate simplicity. No pumps, no mechanical operations to get the ping pong balls down. All we need is water coming up and over. My big funnel is connected to the hose that will go down and hopefully deliver the ping pong balls to our sunken ship, the Jalapeno.
The MythBusters are at Monterey Bay Marina to select a sailboat to sink and then salvage using ping pong balls. Thanks to the generosity of the harbor master, they find themselves the proud owners of the Jalapeno?
Scott, what's been happening on this boat?
Well, this boat has been neglected for several years, and it was invaded by sea lions last year during the kind of a 10-year cycle that we have with sea lion infestation here in the harbor.
Over 1,000 sea lions decided to take their summer vacation at Monterey Bay, causing havoc at the marina. The invasion sank several boats, but one proved unsinkable, the Jalapeno.
This one had at least 30 or 40 different animals.
So somebody or something has already tried to sink this boat, is what you're telling me.
Tried,
and they
but failed.
Yeah, wow.
Well, it sounds perfect. Scott, this is the perfect boat for us. I think we'll take it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Oh, man. What a piece of crap.
What do you mean? This is a great boat.
I think it's perfect. Oh, we just have to figure out where to drill the right holes. The Jalapeno makes the perfect boat for the ping pong salvage myth. Number 1, it's dirt cheap. Number 2, it's a piece of crap, so no one will mind us sinking it. Number 3, it's fiberglass and has actually a whole bunch of compartments which we can fill each with ping pong balls and then seal off and move on to the next. That's more ideal than we could have hoped for.
A little rotten wood here and there, and a lot of chipped and peeling paint. Otherwise, I think it'll serve our purpose nicely.
We have to clean it really well before we sink it in a protected wildlife sanctuary of Monterey Bay. Shall we start to try and clean this puppy?
There it goes.
With the Jalapeno stripped down to its bare essentials, the guys make some minor last-minute interior adjustments. To refloat the boat from the ocean floor, the ping pong balls must have access to every nook and cranny of cabin space. Sinking a boat is not as easy as you'd think. With the cabin makeover complete, it's time to batten down the hatches. The guys want to be sure that when they fill her with ping pong balls, she doesn't burst open. But they're up against the clock.
What the hell time is it? We're late.
Yeah, it's like almost 4 o'clock.
What?
It's almost like 4 o'clock.
When everything is ship-shape, the Jalapeno is renamed. It's time to scuttle Mythtanic number 2. The doomed vessel is towed to a safe location on the other side of the marina. With the final leg in sight, the boys slip into something less comfortable. Jamie seems to be going camouflaged as a walrus. The sun is sinking, but Mythtanic 2 is still afloat. The MythBusters are determined that she keeps her appointment with the ocean floor. She's already survived the onslaught of over 40 sea lions, each weighing in at around 800 pounds. Now the MythBusters flood her with water. Adam starts to wonder if she'll ever go under.
How hard is this thing a boat?
A crowd gathers to wave farewell to Mythtanic 2. As she finally surrenders, Adam scrambles to the bow. As Mythtanic 2 descends towards the ocean floor, up above, the guys are in MythBusters heaven.
About 3 minutes ago, we just had what is a classic MythBusters, what the are we doing kind of moment. We just successfully sank the Mythtanic 2. While we were doing it, we took the opportunity to bust the Titanic myth one more time. This boat sunk on a tiny point left up above the water, and I stood on that point, and air bubbled around me, and I did not go down with this ship. So, you know, I'm glad we're able to take care of ancillary myths as we go.
Busted again!
I'm totally pumped on adrenaline. I think I need a cookie.
It's been a blast, but sinking the boat's a breeze compared to what they'll face in the morning when the ping-pong salvage starts for real.
There's a little bit of lift, but
not enough.
Back at the balloon challenge, young Maddie is showing patience beyond her years. By now, she should have been lifted up, and away. But someone's messed up, big time. The build team estimated 2,000 balloons would be enough to get her airborne.
Yes, this is truly my arm just being lifted by these balloons.
Instead, it seems they'll need twice that, and time is against them.
Didn't we calculate that the flying times of these balloons would be about 6 hours?
Better work faster.
Not only will they struggle to blow up that many balloons today, but with every minute that passes, the balloons that are inflated lose some of their helium and lifting power.
We might be in like 6,000 balloons by the time we get the kid in the air.
Oh my God, my fingers can't take it.
Suddenly, everything is going wrong.
Balloons are popping. Balloons are deflating.
Balloons are escaping. And with time slipping away, Tori goes fishing.
go, 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 go. Get up there. Yeah, there you go. And they said my ideas are crazy.
Whether it's fear of failure and MythBusters ridicule,
Ow, I need that finger.
or just the dread of a screaming Maddie, the builders blow and tie and curse their way towards a balloon bunch of mythic proportions.
Well, if our count is correct, we are now at 3,000 balloons, which is about 1,000 more than we originally expected.
My fingers are toast.
I guess we should do another test with the dummy, huh?
Once more, a sinking sandbag Maddie reveals the terrible truth.
7 more pounds. We only have to lift 7 more pounds.
500 more balloons coming up.
This myth is starting to smell busted. What carnival balloon vendor in his right mind would create a bunch this big, then hand it to a child?
I have never seen that many balloons, not even at the county fair.
But try telling that to Maddie, who's been promised a flight.
This will get us up to 3,500 balloons.
That's a lot of trouble for a little girl and a big myth. But finally, Maddie's moment has arrived.
Maddie, it's go time.
Woohoo!
All right.
Safety line in hand.
Wait. I got a safety line.
You ready?
Yes.
Look at that!
Oh my gosh!
Maddie will forever be burdened by having a story so amazing that none of her friends believe it.
It worked!
That's the price of showing that while you can lift a kid with party balloons, you just need far too many for the myth to be plausible.
I would say we popped that myth.
Totally busted. There's no way that a circus would have this many balloons in one bunch.
Yeah!
Busted? Did someone say busted? Time to unleash the evil child within. Sure, Freddie and Jason look scary, but for real bang for her buck, Scotty's flashing back to her street performing days. Oh, the humanity.
Scotty, I think your method might be the most effective.
Oh, and remember those balloons set free to roam the world? Well, one bunch turned up at the Sequoia National Park, 300 miles away. The other two, they never write, they never call. A truckload of ping pong balls rolls south to a rendezvous with the MythBusters. Meanwhile, at a cold and foggy Monterey Bay, there's something very fishy going on.
It seems that you can't plan for everything. There's a fish processing factory behind us, and they're unloading a few thousand pounds of squid, a good portion of which seems to be chumming the very water that we're going to be raising the Mythtannic in. We're emboldened by the fact that there's only been one shark attack in the recorded history of Monterey Bay.
Gallons of squid juice are creating a stink. This myth is putting the pong into ping pong.
Well, the second problem is directly a result of the first, is that all this fish juice that is enticing marine animals to come and feed is also limiting our visibility a lot. So hopefully it'll wash away, but we'll just have to take it as it comes as we go today.
Busting this myth is a tall order without the added perils of sharks and poor visibility. As they race the ping pong balls towards the bay, the guys call in expert help from Robert Flores, a professional salvage diver.
Robert, have you heard the myth about somebody that tried to float a sunken boat with a bunch of ping pong balls?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it happen before.
Oh, what do you think? Is it possible?
If you can get the ping pong balls underwater and you get enough of them in there, I think you can get it to float.
Robert, what are the dangers in doing this kind of salvage work?
In this kind of a situation, you're going to be working inside of a vessel, so you got an overhead environment. You got to be particularly careful of your air consumption rate. And of course, a dramatic loss in buoyancy. For a hatch cover to blow open or the ping pong balls to escape dramatically would cause the vessel to immediately sink again. And if anybody's in it, underneath it, or near it and gets caught in any of the ribbing or ropes, it could be extremely dangerous.
You feel like helping us?
I'd be glad to give you a hand. I want to watch this one happen.
The truck has arrived, and the team get to work unloading 60,000 ping pong balls. Moving this mountain falls to Myth-Turn Christine, and it's getting up her nose.
They stink. Never imagined ping pong balls would smell so bad. The worst case scenario is actually going to happen to me today, which is to collect 60,000 ping pong balls and find a place to put them.
First blood falls to the box cutter.
Another MythBuster injury. I've had candy exploded on my face, I've been shocked twice, I had scaffolding fall near me, and now this.
Can she stay the distance?
Yes, I think I will survive the series, but I think I'll probably use up 8 of my 9 lives.
Christine can take care of herself, but the local wildlife need protecting. Adam and Jamie seek advice from Rachel Saunders of the Monterey Bay Marine Sanctuary.
We're actually about to potentially release like 60,000 ping pong balls into this marine sanctuary. And what would be like a worst case scenario with those ping pong balls, do you think?
Well, we would want to make sure that no marine animals swallowed them, for example, and hurt them in any way. So that would be the primary concern. If they swallowed it, it might get lodged in their throat, and they could choke. They might pass it through, but you don't know.
You know, I think Jamie here actually possesses a certification in otter CPR, actually.
Right. Well, hopefully that won't happen, and we won't have to learn how that would work.
Forewarned is forearmed. The guys decide to seal off the salvage area to keep marine life and ping pong balls apart.
Hey, Jamie, they're calling you.
They saw the mustache.
Yeah.
While Adam feeds the rig up above, Jamie and Dive Master Robert will be down below at the business end, marshalling balls into Mythtannic 2. The rig works, and Jamie clocks in for the early shift on the ocean floor. They're off, and the first of an estimated 50,000 ping pong balls are pumped into MythTanic 2. Things seem to be rolling along. Hold up, there's a holdup. When Adam feeds in too many balls at once, the system chokes. He's reduced to feeding them in a handful at a time. 1 hour into this myth, and spirits are sinking.
At this point, I've only emptied like 4 or 5 boxes. That's like 6,000 or 7,000 ping pong balls. I don't think that means that 50,000 needs to take 10 hours, but we're going to have to pick up the pace in order for us to get a reasonable amount of balls into there in a reasonable amount of time.
Then Robert pops up with a suggestion.
I think the hose is still too long. I got all this slack and I got all the folders. If you can take about another 10 or 12 feet off of this thing.
I can take 10 feet off in 5 seconds.
The long hose is looping in the water, and the downward flow of ping pong balls is being reversed on the uphill sections. So the balls aren't reaching the boat in large enough numbers. The MythBusters hope that by cutting the hose to length, the flow from funnel to boat will be smoother and faster. Adam lops the hose in half, and they try again, with dramatic results. With one simple modification, the dispensing rig runs like clockwork, and they're having a ball. Soon, MythTanic 2 contains enough ping pong balls to become neutrally buoyant. Her stern remains on the bottom, but her bow is floating free, and she's still only half filled with balls. News reaches the surface, and Adam's on top of the world.
Oh, that's cool.
The most critical phase of the salvage is approaching, and it's also the most dangerous by far. At Monterey Bay, the MythBusters' bid to salvage a sunken boat using ping pong balls lies in the balance.
We're trying to lift this boat from its deck, something the deck was never intended to do. So it's possible once we get enough ping pong balls under there and it's trying to lift the 1,800-pound keel, that the deck will just rip right off the boat and we'll have 30,000 ping pong balls inside of our boom here.
As the upward pressure in the MythTanic reaches critical, Adam continues to feed balls into the funnel. Suddenly, hundreds of them bob up from below. That could be hours of work floating to the surface.
Oh no, they're coming up.
Jamie? Hold on.
Can you hear me? Over.
Robert surfaces with a damage report. He's okay, but MythTanic 2 has ruptured.
Here's somebody. There we go. What's going on down there?
There's a window on top. We didn't even see it. A piece of wood glued in that blew out.
Shoot.
We need to find a way to put it up underneath and then fill it with ping pong balls again.
On the front of the boat, there was this hatch on the bow that we screwed down. That hole blew out, it seems, from pressure of the ping pong balls, because we were up here pumping the balls down, and all of a sudden ping pong balls start shooting up out of the water.
A new hatch cover is quickly improvised. Robert fits it from the inside. So as the ping pong balls pack in behind it, they'll force shut the hole. The dispensing rig swings into high gear, and the MythBusters are back in business.
Oh yeah, they're going.
The ping pong balls fly into the depths, and before long, there's 26,000 of them inside MythTanic 2. That's just over half the number they estimate they'll need to raise her. Suddenly, Robert hits the surface with unexpected news.
Now she's standing straight up. She's getting kind of close, ready to float up. So I'm low on air. Jamie, it's your turn. Go finish her up.
This is the moment of truth. Either this gag is going to work or it's not.
Just in case you were wondering, Jamie isn't referring to the gag about the diver and the beret.
The boat is upright, it's teetering. So we know we've got a lot of flotation in there. It's a question of overcoming the weight of the keel in this boat. These boats have a lead keel. So it's anybody's guess whether it's actually going to work.
The good news is that the main cabin is still empty, so there's plenty of room for more balls. The bad news is that according to their calculations, they need to pump at least another 24,000 of them to get Mythtannic 2 out of the mud.
I think it's going to work. It's going to be close.
Jamie goes below for what looks like another long shift. But before long, Mythtannic 2 seems to be straining at the leash. A premature resurrection may be imminent. Up top, the excitement mounts.
I'm cautiously optimistic that it's maybe an hour until this boat breaks the surface and confirms this myth.
Take that caution and throw it to the wind. Because even as Adam speaks, Mythtannic 2 stirs, then slowly rises from her watery grave. Way ahead of schedule, the ping pong balls float the MythBusters boat. The 9-hour marathon salvage is over.
Raise the Mythtannic 2.
We succeeded, of all things. We got the Mythtannic to the surface using about 27,000 ping pong balls, all told, which is a lot less than I thought we'd need. But she's on the surface. We did it.
The guys had calculated that it would take at least 50,000 ping pong balls to raise Mythtannic 2. But they did it with just over half that number. Mythtannic 2 is winched onto the dock, and the guys gather for a post-mortem.
Oh, you're the man. Got it. Okay. I thought we were going to do it, Jimmy, but I didn't realize we were going to do it that easily.
It didn't really seem like it took that many. None of the compartments were packed like I thought we were going to need to really get every last nook and cranny filled for this to work.
Well, we had to use less because the fiberglass was more buoyant.
And the wood.
And the
Something
wood.
we didn't take into account at the beginning.
Adam, the pump, did it work well? What's the deal?
The pump actually worked. It got the balls down there. I would have liked to have seen them move a little faster, and it took a little dialing in, but overall, for the simplest possible rig we could have designed, it worked like a charm.
And who would have ever thought that you could pour ping pong balls down into the bottom of the ocean?
Exactly.
Actually, the guys were beaten to the idea by a duck. Over 70 years ago, Donald and his nephews came up with a ping pong ball dispensing rig uncannily similar to Jamie's. And like the MythBusters, the comic book Poultry also achieved success.
Well, guys, ping pong ball salvage. Busted, plausible, or confirmed?
Amazingly, I'd say this one is entirely plausible.
Yeah, plausible, not practical though.
But you never think anything's really practical, do you?
What are you talking about?
But wait, there's still time for the ping pong gong.
So what do you think, Robert? Have we busted the field of salvage technology wide open? Are ping pong balls a reasonable way to salvage a boat?
I wouldn't give up my day job yet.
No.
No.
How did Jamie do as a salvage diver?
Well, I think Jamie did an outstanding job. And as part of that, our dive team has all voted and we got together, and Jamie, we'd like to present you with an honorary Navy salvage dive pin.
Wow.
And hopefully you'll come out and dive with us again sometime, or call us out the next time you want to do some salvage diving.
Well, that's wonderful, Robert. Thanks.
You're welcome very much.
What am I, chopped liver?